this is the first G20 Leaders Summit to be held in Africa, it carries the hopes and must reflect the aspirations of the people of this continent and of the world.
Ramaphosa just pulled off the boldest diplomatic win, bringing the G20 to South Africa. But Trump wasn't having it. He's always believed that without him, the world can't run a major event, that everything needs his stamp, his presence, his spotlight. So he issued a stunning instruction. No U.S. government officials were allowed to attend the summit. But why? Was it frustration, a political message, or simply a way to remind the world that he doesn't play by anyone's rules but his own? Ramaphosa continued.
And as we have become democracies, particularly in the global south, we were fed the message that you need to have rule of law. You need to embrace values. You need to have good governance. But in recent times, we've seen how those who were trying to teach us those laws and those values are the very ones who are violating all those values, who are destroying those very values. And we ask ourselves, what are we expected to do now? Because yes, we are developing our economies. We are sovereign countries, and we need to be treated as equals. Our sovereignty needs to be respected. We need to sit around the table as equals and having the same share of knowledge, the same share of capability, without any bullying the other, without any.
Right now, many Americans are sounding the alarm. Trump isn't just breaking political norms, he's allegedly flouting the law. He's suing federal judges, ignoring court orders, cracking down on immigrants at courthouses, and even keeping U.S. officials away from international summits.
Thank you, Minister Pakstow. It's a real joy to be amongst you here. I've made it a bit of a habit these days that as I walk into meetings, I want to read the audience and test the temperature of the audience. And as I walk in, particularly when I have to be amongst business people, as I enter, I immediately have a sense that there is a wonderful smell of money. But then that is often accompanied by another element, which is, as I've just come back from this few minutes ago with Minister Lamula and Godongwane, we've just come back from the G20 Social Summit. Now, as I walked in, there was a big round of applause. And people were like saying, President, 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 with great love and affection. So as I walked in here, there was silence. Absolute silence. No. Rather than see it as a negative, I told myself that, gee, I'm at the right place here. Because, as I say, I read my audience, and as you didn't applaud, I was taking my steps, walking alongside some of your colleagues, looking at their faces, seeing how they are responding to this moment. But as I got to the front, you applauded, which told me that there is real weighty money here. It is indeed a great honor to address you all, to address a gathering of business people from across the globe who, by your presence here, have affirmed your commitment to and support for our G20 process, but also indirectly to support a better Africa and a better world. This G20, as you well know, is meeting for the very first time on African soil, and we as South Africa are truly honored and privileged to be the first country on the continent to be hosting the G20. From every corner of the earth, people are returning to this place, the cradle of humanity, to reflect on the state of our world and to chart a way forward to a more inclusive and a more prosperous and more sustainable future, which through your presence I'd like to believe you have been doing, returning to where we all originated, and to come and draw from the wisdom that resides in this continent. This is a moment of great significance for our continent. It is also a moment of great opportunity, I'd like to believe. It is an opportunity for Africa to assert itself and to assert its place in global affairs. When we accepted the presidency of the G20, we immediately said that we are going to focus on Africa and get the world to start looking at Africa and its great potential, to affirm its position as a leader of economic growth and social progress. It is in this continent that we believe the great focus should be. Africa has some of the fastest growing economies in the world. It has the youngest population, and it is endowed with abundant resources, natural resources and human capital. It is also endowed with critical minerals that will build the economy of the future, and with the fertile lands that can feed the world, as well as having the sun and the wind that will power revolution in energy. The African Continental Free Trade Area provides an unprecedented opportunity to harness these resources for the good of the people of the continent. It promises a new era of trade, of investment across the borders that had so far been held back. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area promises greater alignment of rules, of regulations, of standards, as well as of laws. It promises the seamless movement of goods and the provision of services across a market of 1.4 billion people. As the work done by the B20 has made clear, Africa has the potential to be the next frontier of global production, commerce, as well as innovation. And we will call on the global community to embrace Africa's rise. Some years ago, the front page of The Economist magazine depicted Africa as a continent that is lost, that is backwards. But Africa is on the rise. It is Africa that seeks to be more prosperous, and by being prosperous, we'd like to believe that we therefore will have a more prosperous world. An Africa that is at peace, that is stable, that is well-governed, and that has the means to meet the needs of its people, makes for a better world. If the G20 is to realize its mission of fostering a more stable and prosperous world, a mission which was its original mission, then Africa's growth and development must be made a priority. This calls for investment in infrastructure and industry. It calls for investment in the people of this continent, especially the young people. It calls for technology to be spread around. It calls for a massive increase in finance for climate action and a just transition for African economies. Now, Africa's growth and development calls for a more deliberate and more decisive action towards debt sustainability on the African continent. Many African countries are unable to invest in their people. They are unable to invest in infrastructure or in productive activity because of the cost of servicing their debt. Removing their burden of debt will unleash the potential of many African economies and the contribution that they can make to global growth. This task has been bolstered in recent days by the release of the report of the Africa Expert Panel that is chaired by former South African Finance Minister Trevor Manuel, whom we asked to corral a number of experts, both on our continent and outside of our continent. The panel's report highlights the high cost of capital that is faced by African countries, which are higher than in other regions with similar fundamentals. It recommends measures to mobilize significantly more concessional funding from multilateral development banks and African trade and finance institutions. The report says that we need to address biased risk perceptions of Africa by mandating greater transparency and accountability from credit rating organizations or agencies. Taken together, the detailed recommendation of the expert panel could create the conditions for an investment boom on our continent. Through its deliberations over the past year, the B20 has done much to reinforce the value of Africa's rise, and it has outlined in detail the actions that need to be taken, as well as the conditions that need to be met to realize the rise of the continent that I'm talking about. The B20 has done much to position business as a force for progress. The B20 could not have been clearer. The global business community is prepared, is willing, and able to drive inclusive growth, sustainable growth, and resilient growth as well. The global business community has made itself a reliable partner, keen to work with governments, with multilateral bodies, with social partners, and with communities in pursuit of the common good. Now, I say this advisedly, as we here in South Africa have developed a culture and a good practice of working together with business, where we build a partnership, or we have built a partnership that is somewhat institutionalized and where we work together. And I must say that we have found business to be very supportive, to be keen, to help us address the challenges that our country faces. But in the course of that, we've also, as a government, been able to build partnerships with labor, with civil society, and we found this to be really, really effectual. B20 has made it clear that growth must be inclusive. And we've been pleased that here in South Africa, our business compatriots have also made growth, inclusiveness to be their goal and priority. Those who have been marginalized, women, youth, persons with disabilities, and the unemployed, must become active and must become beneficial participants in the economy, whether at national level and also whether at global level. This is a matter of social and economic justice, but it is much more than that. It is an opportunity to harness the capabilities, the talents, and the effort of billions of people to unleash the productive potential of humanity. This calls for an approach that invests in people. It must start in the earliest of years of life, establishing through quality foundational education a platform for learning that produces the skills that the economy of tomorrow will need. It calls for accessible, quality health care, for affordable social security and focused poverty alleviation measures. And it calls for support for micro, social, and medium enterprises, for entrepreneurs, and for informal businesses to be given an opportunity to grow and to thrive.